All right, welcome back, roomies, for another episode of the Engine Room podcast. You can see there is no Buga with us today. He's not feeling well, so it is just myself and Pablo. And full disclosure, I'm actually not feeling all that good myself. So we're gonna power through this one. Me and Pablo are gonna get you through a weekend recap on English Premier League. We'll talk about the Champions League results, mainly PSG being knocked out by Bayern, and then of course we will take a look up ahead to this week's Champions League matches, and then we'll see what else comes up conversationally here. So, hello, roomies, welcome, and hello, Pablo. How you doing, sir?
Hello, I'm okay. I'm surviving. I'm not doing too badly. It's unfortunate the Buga's not here, of course. But you're also ill, though, John, and you've pulled through. So I'm disappointed in the Peruvian.
I know, and it's funny because he can hear us right now live from the studio, so there will be some jabs at Buga throughout today. Just know that we love Buga. It's all in good fun, and we're doing it because he can hear us. So hi, Buga. Good morning to you. I hope you are feeling better as the pod goes on. But let's talk about some Champions League. Let's kick things off with Liverpool. Last week we were talking about Liverpool are back. Klopp is king again. It's the Liverpool of old, and then they lose to Bournemouth. What happened here, Pablo?
Yeah, just another reality check, I think, for Liverpool. I think they had one against Real Madrid. I just think they're having a difficult season. I think it's fair to say they're getting back to their best in some way. They're starting to find more of a solid shape, more of a solid starting 11. They're not changing so many things. Like they've got that front three now, for example, in Darwin Núñez, Gakpo and Salah. That seems to be working. Like Gakpo and Núñez are now starting to fire a bit. I know Salah missed a penalty against Bournemouth, which was pretty disastrous for Liverpool, but I think they are getting there. Of course, we saw that with a 7-0. They're not awfully far off top four now. So this was a blip on the weekend, but I just feel, and we saw against Real Madrid, and I think we'll see it again midweek against Real Madrid, that they're not there yet. And I think, when it really comes down to it, it's pretty clear this team isn't close to a finished article. So Liverpool, in my opinion, doing a lot better than they were at the start of the season. Good chances to finish in top four, actually. They'll definitely be in that race, against a team like Tottenham or Newcastle, who are faltering a bit, despite this weekend's results. But I just don't think that they're having a great season, full stop, Liverpool.
Yeah, I'm looking at their upcoming schedule, and it's rough. I think we both agree they're probably going to lose to Real Madrid. I mean, it's away from home. They've already lost 5-2. There's not much to fight for there. The match against Liverpool-Fulham is postponed, so their next match after Real Madrid is Man City on April 1st, then away to Chelsea on April 4th, and hosting Arsenal on April 9th. So this could be a case where Liverpool got one hand on the top four before being knocked down a couple of pegs. I mean, this is going to be a rough couple of weeks for them.
Wow.
I could definitely see them losing to City. I could see them drawing against Chelsea, who we'll talk about here in a minute, who are starting to find their form. And then Arsenal. I want to count out Arsenal. I've been trying to do it every single week, and yet they keep winning. So this could be a skid for Liverpool. I think we maybe spoke a little bit too soon saying that they were back. I think it's still going to be a struggle for them to get top four.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, those fixtures are worrying for Liverpool. That's very true. I'm guessing they've got that game postponed because of FA Cup action, I believe. But yeah, I mean, I think they'll be out the Champions League to Real Madrid. I think 3 goals down at the Bernabeu. I mean, they're not going to win 4-0 in my opinion. Like, even a very good team, I don't think would, and I don't think Liverpool are this season. So, yeah. And I mean, look, you're right. They were getting close to the top four. This will decide whether they're going to make it or not, but that's a hard set of fixtures.
Yeah, they're now 6 points back. Well, they got a match in hand from Tottenham, so there is that. But Newcastle are going to play spoilers. I think Newcastle are getting in top four this year. Because I think they're not, in my opinion, they're not getting any distractions. Like, they're not in the headlines very often. They're just they're doing enough to stay relevant, but they're not having such a successful season that people are putting those expectations on them.
You're right.
It's kind of like they're able to quietly stick around, quietly hang in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm pulling up their schedule, and they got Nottingham Forest, Man United, West Ham. They got a significantly easier run of things up until they play Arsenal on May 6th. Like, they're playing, listen, there's no easy matches in the EPL, right? So I don't mean to suggest that there are, but you look at who Liverpool had to play, and now you look at who Newcastle have to play, and they just have an easier run of things all the way till the end of the season. So I'm going. I know we talk about predictions for top four quite often here, but I'm having a hard time seeing Liverpool in it, and I think Newcastle are going to play spoilers in this one.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, actually, because when Newcastle lose a game or drop points, there's not much noise at all. But when Tottenham and Liverpool do it, there is quite a lot of noise. So that's a very good point.
Yeah, because what is success for Newcastle this year? Top 6?
Yeah, Europe. Yeah,
right. If they get a European football, they become that much more attractive. They can spend some more of that money that they got waiting in their bank accounts.
Yeah.
So for them, I think if you look at Arsenal are under pressure because can they do it? Can they get over the hurdle? Right. Man City are under pressure because they're the reigning champs. Man United have the reputation of Man United. They've been under a 10-year revamp right now. So they're under constant pressure. If they don't stay in the top 4, that's a huge red mark on Ten Hag if they can't remain competitive and stay in a Champions League spot. Same thing for Tottenham with Conte. Like, those expectations are all there. Klopp and Liverpool. But then you get to these teams, Newcastle, Brighton, Fulham, Brentford even. I'm bringing up that name, that are fighting for top 6 that have no pressure. No pressure at all, and they're playing good football.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see, because it feels like at least one of them, definitely Newcastle, but at least one other of the rest are going to get European football, and that's quite exciting for them.
I know. Even I'm kind of surprised. I think mostly by Brighton, especially after Trossard goes to Arsenal.
Yeah,
I thought that they'd feel that, but it doesn't seem like they are. It seems like they're still moving forward. Fulham let me down. We could turn the page to talk about Arsenal a little bit. I predicted last week that Fulham were going to take some points, but got to call out my fellow American compatriot, Anthony Robinson, left back for Fulham, had a howler of a match, an absolute howler. Just looked lost out there. I'm sad to say it. It breaks my heart to call him out, but Arsenal just made it look too easy.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it's quite an impressive result, quite a strong one. And the more Arsenal keep winning, the more it looks like they're going to win the league to me. I only caught the highlights, but they looked very good. And from what I heard, they were very good. They looked very, very efficient, really clean on the ball. Some of the goals are very satisfying to watch. The way Odegaard plucked out of the sky and killed it, and then went past one and blasted into the corner. I mean, you're right. Robinson had a few howlers, especially on the Martinelli header, but Arsenal looked good, and that was a good Fulham team. And Arsenal just feel very solid right now. I know they drew midweek in the Europa League, actually, and you wonder what they'll actually do in the Europa League. You do, but even after Thursday night football, they look fine, don't they? So at the moment, we've said a lot of weeks in a row, but it's Arsenal are strongly going at the moment. Yeah.
I've sat here every week looking for a reason to count out Arsenal, and they've slipped. But it seems like anytime that they slip a little bit, Man City and Man United, they slip as well, and at times slip a little bit further. So it's up. I'm going to stop calling for it. I'm going to stop calling for the Arsenal collapse. I'm gonna say they are definitely favorites. I mean, we've got 11 matches left now.
Is it 11?
So we're like 75% of the way through this season, and it's Arsenal. Every week we're saying, could they do it? Will they do it? Will they hold on? And they've been holding on this entire time. And to your point, they were not shaken, they were not tested, they were not challenged in this match in any way. This was easy peasy. Walk in, take the 3 points, walk out. No problem for Arsenal. And I don't think, again, going to expectations and pressure, I don't think anybody cares what happens in Europa League for them. If Arsenal win Premier League title, they could lose 10-0 and get knocked out of Europa League, and nobody will care. Yeah.
I mean, and also just a point on Fulham, you're saying that they had they didn't even put up a fight, really. I think that's a bit of an indicator in terms of who will get Europe come the end of the 38 games. And I think teams like Fulham, they're just getting rolled over like that and playing like a relegation team when they're technically in European spaces. It can be a bit of an indicator to me. So let's see actually, where these teams end up, because it could be like 9th, 10th, 11th rather than 7th or 6th.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair. Especially so if you think if Chelsea start finding their form, if I mean Palace have been slipping, Palace have been in horrible form.
Yeah, they have.
They've got enough talent that they could catch a Brentford, they could catch a Fulham. Maybe not. I'm looking at the points. They're 12 points down from mid-table. Never mind. I take back everything I just said about Palace.
they're not going to catch those, but you're right. They do have talent. I think they're underachieving. There's a bit of debate as to whether Vieira's actually doing a good enough job or not.
Yeah, I didn't realize in the last 2 weeks, there's actually been a pretty big gap that's starting to show up here in the top half and bottom half of the table. So Palace in 12th have 27 points. Villa in 11th have 35. That's really the divide. So it's Villa up through Arsenal and then Palace on down. And if you look at Palace are actually, they are 5 points from the bottom of the table.
Really? Yeah.
So this is really now a table of two halves that we're looking at. Wow. Okay. Interesting. And that, like I said, just happened in the last couple of weeks, that divide there. It was significantly closer. Okay. We're jumping around some of these results here. Let's talk a little bit about Man City, because we just touched on Crystal Palace. Man City did not look great in this one. They did not have the ease that Arsenal had against Liverpool. I mean, with Man City and Haaland, you expect them to score 3-4 goals in every match, but they've been struggling at times. It's a little bit more hot and cold than what you'd expect, but they did enough. They got a penalty, they got the win. What were your thoughts from this result?
I mean, City, I've got to keep winning, to be fair. So whenever I see City win, I think, well done, because you're doing the job. They're at least applying pressure to Arsenal, who don't seem to be feeling it that much. But I think if City slip again, then they're going to be in massive trouble. Excuse me. So they've got to keep winning every single match, and at the moment they're doing it. I mean, if it's 1-0, it's 1-0. We've seen that with Barcelona, and that's just the way it's going to be. City in general just seem a bit different to me this season. They're just not that free-flowing 5-0 team every week. I know we had signs of it at the beginning of the season where Haaland was getting back-to-back hat-tricks and stuff, and they were ravaging teams, but as the season's gone on, I don't know what it is, if it's the same personnel we've seen for a few years now. It just all seems a bit like they're not hobbling, but they're not brushing aside teams as much, and they just don't look as convincing. We even saw in the Champions League, the 1-1 draw to Leipzig, was it? I think they've got Leipzig again this midweek. And I think they will go through, but if they went out, I wouldn't be unbelievably shocked, because they've got that in them this season, is the point. And I do think that that's something that we are seeing now from Pep's team, when they're just not looking as convincing. But they've got to keep winning to stay in the hunt, and as long as they're doing that, they'll be there. So they've got to bank on the fact that Arsenal will drop points.
Yeah, it really is. I just there's something about City this year that just feels like they're going to flub at some point down this final leg, and it could be the match against Arsenal. That could be it. Yeah. It could be that Arsenal finally get over that hurdle. They beat their big brother in a lot of ways, and that's what gets Arsenal the crown. That could be it for them. Man, I'm thinking back to the 3-4 times that I predicted that Man United were going to sneak their way up to the title, and they keep slipping up. Did you see the Casemiro red card?
I did see it.
What did you think? Do you think it was a red?
Probably, yeah, actually.
Okay. For me, I think it's a clear red. I think he was lunging for it.
Yeah.
Studs up. His boot was high enough that it rolled over the ball. He barely made contact on the ball before rolling over.
Yeah.
And I think this is an example of Casemiro not getting away with the challenges that he got away with in La Liga for the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm realizing is that while the Premier League is a much more physical league compared to La Liga, it is actually also a cleaner league. I think La Liga, because it's not seen as a overly physical league, you can get away with some of these more nasty challenges compared to Premier League, you know it's physical, you know there's going to be conflict, so you have to manage the game in a different way. You have to call it a little bit cleaner so that things don't get out of hand, things don't boil over when they don't need to. So I think Casemiro is going to have to adjust a little bit, because he went his entire Real Madrid career without seeing a red card. And you know, if you're a Real Madrid or Barcelona fan, there are some El Clásicos where you're just shaking your head, how is that not a red card? And it would be for challenges like this, you know? So I think it's just a difference in refereeing from league to league. For me, it's a red card in any league, but I think Casemiro is now, after seeing his second red of the season, starting to learn that lesson. You could see how disappointed he was getting sent off. He was pretty heartbroken.
I know. Well, I think it's a red card as well. I mean, the reaction from some Manchester United fans was that they were like furious with it. So I almost went into it with the narrative that it wasn't a red card, but I saw it and I think that is the right call. You're right about Casemiro, because he never got sent off in La Liga, and it was always the big joke that he never got sent off. Often for like double yellow cards, he'd be on a yellow card and just like stop a blatant counter attack and just wouldn't get sent off. It was like a known fact that we're not sending off Casemiro. Like, it happened maybe like 25, 30 times in his career at Real Madrid, where an insane number where we just thought, what is going on here? And he's come to England, and I think he's already got 3 now for Man U, I believe that is, which is quite a worrying stat, actually, and he's so important to them. We're hearing this is a 4-game ban as well, so United drop points again. Like, they're not going to win the league. You're right about, I don't think they're going to be pulled into the top 4 race, which is fortunate for them, but they're not going to win the title. You mentioned earlier, how much of a disappointment it would be for Ten Hag if he slips it out of the top 4. I think they'll be safe. Having said that, it does remind me a bit of Chelsea last season. I remember we were 3rd for the best part of all the season, but we did start losing points, and at the end we were in a little top 4 battle. Like, we were fine at the end with like 2 game weeks to spare, but it did get a bit nitty gritty. So let's see where Man U end up, but I think they're going to be closer to 2nd than they will be to 4th.
Yeah, that's fair. I could see that happening. Tottenham. It's getting hard. It's getting hard to predict. If Liverpool didn't just drop points, then I think we start to see a more clear top 4. But Liverpool losing just opens everything up, and Tottenham's inconsistent, so you just don't know.
Well, what are the points in it now? Tottenham are only 2 points off United, but United have a game in hand. Exactly,
yeah. And then Newcastle have only played 25 matches, so when they level things up in terms of matches played, they can leapfrog Tottenham, and they can catch. No, they only have one match on United, so they could be 3 points down from United.
I mean, look how many games in hand Brighton have got, by the way.
Oh my goodness! So Brighton, 24 matches played, 39 points. Let's just say they win those 3 matches in hand. They can go 42, 45, 48.
Level with
48
Spurs.
Points on level on Tottenham.
Above Spurs on goal difference.
Yeah. So I want to say the top 3 is set. I want to say it's Arsenal, Man City, United.
I think so.
And then it's really a battle of Tottenham, Newcastle, Liverpool, Brighton. I'm going to count Fulham out.
Yeah.
That last performance against Arsenal, I think what you said was dead on. They just showed that they're playing more like a relegation team rather than a European side.
Yeah.
So I'm so disappointed I'm counting them out. So I'll say it is a 4-team race. Because Chelsea can't get back into it, can they?
I don't think so.
If they win their next one, give us the update on Chelsea. We haven't talked about them yet. Give us the update on Chelsea. Yeah. That'll kind of wrap up our Premier League conversation.
Yes. I mean, look, it's no secret I've been very critical of Graham Potter so far at Chelsea. Chelsea have had a pretty embarrassing 2023, and actually a pretty embarrassing just time since Potter's come in, since the first 3 weeks. But Chelsea are off the back of a really good week. A 1-0 win against Leeds. The 2-0 win against Dortmund was quite big. Incredibly, the first time Chelsea have scored more than 2 goals in a football match more than 1 goal in a football match in 2023. And it was the only time we needed more, And then, of course, we've gone and scored 3 against Leicester on the weekend in a 3-1 away win. Like, that's a lot more promising. I mean, what I will say is that's quite a talented group of players. You look at some of the lineups and it's strong. I think Wesley Fofana coming back into the team has been huge. I think having Reece James and Ben Chilwell back on the flanks has been massive. Having Enzo Fernandez next to Kovacic in midfield is very good. And then, of course, you've got bags of attacking talent in the final third. So Chelsea should be doing well. I mean, I hope now for the last however many games is it, Chelsea got 12 Premier League games, that Chelsea can get some points, because I don't want to say we'll end up in Europe because I've been so pessimistic all season, but there's definitely a chance for happening. Like even 7th, for example, and with Chelsea's big squad, it could be worth getting Europe. I want to make a point that why I think Chelsea have been doing so well, and I've said this before. What formation have Chelsea changed to? The 3-4-3. I don't think it's any surprise that Chelsea play their best football in this shape. It was what Tuchel did so well in. It's what protects the players. It's what suits this group. And I know Potter wanted to kind of change that and say, no, we're going to play a back four in a certain way. But it's just been plain obvious to me, and I think to quite a few Chelsea fans, that Chelsea play better in a back three. And they just do. 3 wins in 7 days there. Some very strong results. The one against Dortmund was very strong and a good performance from a team that didn't look like it was 10th in the Premier League. And look, a lot better for Chelsea, but I just think Potter, that the 3-back must have been staring him in the face for a few months now, and he just didn't want to go back to it. But I think he finally bit the bullet when he saw his job was on the line, and no surprise to me that it's doing a lot better for Chelsea.
Yeah, I mean they're kind of patching something together now. They might. Here's the thing. The theme of this episode, I think, is expectations. Yeah. So have Chelsea just driven the expectations so low that now we're feeling good about just stringing together a few wins?
Yes.
Maybe getting a European spot, not losing week in and week out. Is this just a question of the expectations have been lowered, and that's why maybe we're feeling okay about things?
I think so.
Okay. Just to give some context again, I think I'll say lesson learned from Liverpool. How quickly we can say, "Oh, things are fixed," and then we're back off the rails, right? And you could say that about a few different teams in the Premier League this year. It's been a season of hot and cold. Like nobody besides Arsenal wants to be consistent this year.
Yep.
All right. Well, I took us away from Chelsea a little bit, but you talked about the Champions League results: 2-0 over Dortmund. They get through, and then you also had Benfica with a 5-1 win over Club Brugge. Tottenham and Milan 0-0. So Spurs are out. Again, just a battle for the most boring tie of the year. So let's talk about Bayern PSG, because I think that's where the talking points come in.
Yeah.
This feels like the end of a non-era at PSG. This feels like the end of what never began at PSG. Neymar, Mbappe, Messi. Not enough. Didn't show up. What was your take from this tie now that PSG have been knocked out in the round of 16 again?
Yeah, I like that line, the end of a non-era, because that's exactly what it is. Like, I mean, PSG, it's funny how every year we get excited to watch PSG in the Champions League. We think, ooh, this will be a fun game, and they just disappoint and disappoint and disappoint. I mean, they will be fuming to go out to Bayern Munich having scored 0 goals in 180 minutes, by the way, with Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe.
That's insane.
It's just not good enough. I mean, the squad wasn't good enough either, though, and that's a testament to how poorly they planned. But in that second leg, when they needed goals, they did absolutely nothing to threaten Bayern. I thought Bayern were professional and strong, and will go on to have a decent tournament. I don't think they're going to win it actually, but they should be strong under Nagelsmann, who I quite rate. But PSG, I mean, they didn't have Neymar. But I'll even say, like, whenever I watch Messi in the Champions League for PSG, he's just a different player. I'm sorry, like, that is not the Messi I watched at Barca. Like, I don't expect him to do anything. When he's on the ball, I'm just thinking, he's going to lose it. And Bayern were just bullying him off the ball. And Mbappe, I mean, he barely got much service, wasn't doing anything. And then the rest of the players just wasn't good enough. Like, got to the final third sometimes, and players like Fabian, just nothing. Absolutely nothing. And PSG, just the whole damn circus, the lot of it. What a poor season they're having, by the way. And I just wonder the future of the players and the coaches, really, John.
I don't know. I don't know where they go from here.
Yeah.
It's really, I really don't. I think maybe, I don't know. I'm sitting here racking my brain. If I owned PSG right now, what is my next move? Because I've tried buying the best talent in the world and bringing it in. I just did that. I spent all the money I could. I brought in the biggest names outside of Ronaldo, right? You have 3 of the 4 biggest names in football. I'll say other names are emerging. You have your Haalands, you have your whatever, the next generation beyond Messi and Ronaldo, right?
In terms of names.
Yeah. But if you look at the last 10 years of football, who are the biggest names? Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar, Mbappe.
Yep.
Those are the 4 biggest names, right? So you have 3 out of the 4 at PSG. And then it's not like you got scrubs behind those guys. You have a very talented midfield and defense. I don't know. Do they get a Zidane? Is this an interesting project for a guy like him to come in? Obviously, French connection there. He could be a savior once again. I mean, this would take him like to next level hero status if you're Zidane and you can come in and get PSG their first Champions League. I don't think he can do it. I'd be curious. I'd be curious to see it, but I don't know what to do. If I own PSG, I'm fuming mad and I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's also going to be interesting. We're hearing potential Qatari ownership of Manchester United. If the Qataris are buying Manchester United, it's the Qatari royal family. There's no 2 ways about it. So that is the owners of Paris Saint-Germain. So, we're unsure if they'll be able to do both. And if they do both, does the interest in PSG drop? They've thrown an awful lot of money at this project and haven't got an awful lot back. They probably feel they can get quite a lot back at United. So that's one thing to consider. I mean, also, I think another thing to consider is the future of Kylian Mbappe. I think, thankfully for PSG, for me, I like to think of them as a prison. So I think once you're under contract, no chance. And Mbappe is under contract, so I don't think he's going this summer. So I think they should be safe. And also, his reactions, he didn't seem that gutted about going out. He just said, yeah, focus on the league. I thought, what am I listening to here? But
yeah,
I mean, that was a bit of a Harry Kane move by Mbappe for me. I just thought, you should have been at Real Madrid a long time ago, my friend. But fine, you carry on. Messi, I think, is doubting more and more and more. I think he's getting more accustomed to life in Paris, but Gerard Romero could be right with the Barca move or some sort of move for Messi. It's becoming more clear that he wants to stay in Europe to me, that he wants to continue with Argentina. I don't know why. I would have left after the World Cup, but he's going to stay, I think, and that means he's staying in Europe. So that means really either PSG or Barca now, and PSG is just so embarrassing that I think he could leave. Neymar, we actually heard today from Ornstein that wants to end his career at PSG, which again, I just thought, what a waste of talent we had with Neymar. But we know that he's had enough really of football now anyway, Neymar. So, I mean, that doesn't surprise me too much. And then with the coach, Galtier is not staying. Let's make that clear. Luis Campos, I imagine, will stay as sporting director unless another fallout happens. And I would go for Zidane, John. I just think it's so hard to get him. But I think if they can get him, that'll be the move I would make 110%.
Yeah. If they are going to get Zidane, they have to keep Mbappe.
Yep.
I think no Mbappe, no Zidane, because Messi's leaving. 100% he's leaving. Does he go to Barca? Does he go to Inter Miami? Does he go to Argentina? I'm not sure, but he's gone.
Do you think Messi's off?
Oh, he's so off. Why would you stay at PSG and get all that hate from the PSG ultras, take all the blame when things go wrong, and catch hate when things go right? Because if Messi gets any credit, it's seen as a slight against Mbappe by the ultras. So they go after Messi for that. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. I'm out if I'm Lionel Messi. I'm totally out. In a crazy world, it would be cool to see Messi goes back to Barcelona, Mbappe gets sold to Real Madrid. You get to see a revitalized El Clasico in that way, and then PSG get the karma they deserve, and they're left with nothing but a rusty old Neymar to try to rebuild off of.
Neymar down the middle.
I mean, yeah, and listen, I don't think that's going to happen. I think what you said about the Qatari family ownership, I think, was very interesting, because if they are prevented from owning PSG and Man United, but they decide to go for Man United and they have to sell PSG, that could be a huge downfall for this club. Depending on who buys it, it could be just the next billionaire that comes in, and none of what I say matters, right? But maybe it's somebody that doesn't have as deep of pockets. Maybe it's somebody who comes in with a more realistic version of what they want PSG to be, and they're going to be more domestically focused. Maybe something like that. And you get away from the idea of bringing in all the big names for all the money, you know.
And maybe that'll work.
Yeah, you're right.
But I imagine it kind of won't work, because I think they tried to do that a bit this summer. They thought, no, watch this. They got Luis Campos in and they said, Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, Carlos Soler, we're just going to sign good players. Like, who else did they sign? I'm forgetting now, but Hugo Etiquette or whatever his name is up front. Like, they're trying to sign all these young, like, talents. Like, look at this new PSG. And one, those blokes don't play. And two, when they do, they don't do anything. So, like, they could try that. But, I mean, you're right. I think what we have to know is that the money is coming from the Qatari royal family, that's for sure. But what they could do is just give it to a noble and say, no, that's his money. That's not our money. You know, we own PSG. He owns Manchester United, even though it's all one, of course. But that could be a way out of it.
Tricky. There's always a way, right? There's always a loophole. My goodness, we'll see. That's gonna be interesting, though. I think it's gonna be very interesting. But I don't know. I think Messi leaves. I think Mbappe stays. I think Neymar stays. And we go from there. It'll be interesting, but disappointing for PSG regardless. Keep it on Champions League, though. Should we talk about the upcoming fixtures?
Let's do it.
All right, we've got, to round out the round of 16, we got Porto versus Inter. Inter have a 1-0 lead on that aggregate. We've got Man City Leipzig. That's 1-1, surprisingly. We got Napoli and Frankfurt. Napoli have a 2-0 lead on aggregate. And then Real Madrid Liverpool. Real Madrid, of course, with that 5-2 victory in the first leg at Anfield. So this one going to the Bernabeu. Anything going to be different for these results, starting with Real Madrid Liverpool?
I think Real Madrid are through. Real Madrid do have a bit of a tendency in recent years, though, to mess things up and then claw through eventually. I remember they were 3-0 up against Juventus. Was 3-0 down until the 97th minute when Ronaldo scored a penalty and they went through 3-1. They were 3-1 up against Chelsea just last season and went 3-0 down, should have gone even more down, and clawed it back to 3-2 and went through in extra time. But I don't actually think Liverpool will even get to that stage where they make it like where they win 3-0 and Real have to pull something back. I just think maybe like it could be a draw, but I'm actually think like maybe 2-0 Real Madrid or 2-1 Real Madrid. I think it could be quite a stale football match, because pretty soon I think Liverpool will think, we're not coming back here, unless they get one goal very early and all of a sudden the second comes out of nowhere and people start thinking, ooh. And that could happen, like I say, by the end of the tie, Real Madrid will be through.
Yeah, hard to disagree with you. I think even if I want to sit here and dream big dreams, a 3-0 against a club like Real Madrid away from home, I don't know about that. I feel like Liverpool already used their one miracle match. 4-0 at Anfield. That's the one that you get. That's it for a lifetime. You know what I mean? I don't think you get to do that twice. I don't think you get to have that historical 4-0 at Anfield versus Barcelona, and then also a few years later go into Real Madrid and beat them 3-0 or more to go through. I just can't see that being a reality. So I got to go with Real Madrid for this one. I hope it's not a boring match, but I'm with you. I could see it being one. I'll say if Liverpool score one early, that actually secures it being a boring match, because Real Madrid will just clam up, keep possession. They'll suck the life out of the game, right? But if Real Madrid score early, then they keep things open a little bit, and then maybe Liverpool just throw everything into the wind and just go for it, and maybe you do get a 2-1, a 3-1, something like that. Yeah. But I think it's going to be in Real Madrid's favor. I think, easy peasy. Real Madrid go through for that one.
Yeah, to be honest, I think this midweek of Champions League is maybe some of the worst we've had in the last decade, actually. These 4 games here, I'm not excited for any of these 4 games. Sorry to say it. This
year, Champions League has been a little bit dull. You don't have a Barcelona, you don't have a Man United. Even though Arsenal have not historically lifted the trophy, it's one of the big names that are typically in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just doesn't seem like you have the big name matchups like you typically do. Juventus is another example of a club that's just not in there. There's some of those big names. So I don't know. I think we've talked about it before, but some of that I'll say I think is a big draw of the talent pool going to the Premier League.
Definitely.
I think some of those names would have gone to these other European clubs to keep them relevant and in the chase and competitive in Champions League. But, you're seeing people go to Brighton, to Brentford, to West Ham and Villa, as opposed to an Inter Milan, a Napoli, a what have you. I think seeing some of that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Napoli-Frankfurt. This one actually could be a good match. I was a little bit surprised. I thought Frankfurt were going to do better in the first leg. I ended up losing 2-0. Napoli on a hot streak and dark horses for this tournament.
Yeah.
What are we thinking for this second leg? Napoli home for this one.
Yeah, you're right. It could be some good football to watch. It could be quite a fun game. So maybe that's an option to watch for one of the evenings. But Napoli are going through, that's for sure, I think. 2-0 away to Frankfurt. We spoke about that last pod, how that's quite impressive, actually, because Frankfurt have got a very strong home record, especially in Europe. So Napoli, for me, having such a good season, and I think everyone agrees they'll go through, and could be dark horses in a weak Champions League. Yeah,
and I admittedly have not watched enough Napoli this year.
No,
I've been aware of the headlines and kind of caught their ride here, but I'm going to start tuning in this kind of final leg of the season here, because Napoli have that air of 2019 Ajax, where this is going to be a one and done. They're going to get picked apart this summer. 3 or 4 players are going to leave for big transfers, and you're never going to see this Napoli team return. So I think if you're a Napoli fan, if you're enjoying this ride, I would say enjoy it, because it's going to end after this season. But I'm definitely in favor of them going through over Frankfurt. And yeah, I call him a dark horse, but you got to say there's Real Madrid, there's Bayern, and then there's Napoli for me.
Yeah.
I think Man City would be a fourth favorite if I had to put them in, but they might not get by Leipzig here. 1-1 aggregate. It's at home. Man City are at home for this one. I don't know.
You know what's an incredible thing that I realised the other day, John? Out of the 4 English teams left in the Champions League, you know who could be the only one going through to the round of 16? 10th place Chelsea.
Get out of here. Wow.
Well, Liverpool are done now. Tottenham are already done. Man City are 1-0 with Leipzig. Look, I think people are expecting Man City to go through, but there's a chance they're not. And even then, the only 2 that will be through are City and Chelsea. I think that's quite incredible, because we talk about it, we talk about how strong England is, and they're gone. I mean, I think the big issue with that is Arsenal, Man U and Newcastle, the 3 other strongest teams, all being stronger than Tottenham, Liverpool and Chelsea this season, aren't in the competition. So
yeah. That is an interesting point, because in years past, it's not unheard of to have 3 English teams in the semi-final.
These days now, these days it's just England.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's a good point. I'll say I am nervous for City in this one. Yeah, I shouldn't be. This should be cut and dry, powerhouse Man City at home, taking care of Leipzig. But I'm a little bit nervous for this one, because again, Leipzig, nothing to lose. Man City have all the pressure. This is their tournament this year, with English Premier League slipping away, with that not being the priority.
Yep.
Champions League is it. I think they'll do it, but I'm nervous.
Yeah, I agree. I think they will, but you could see, I remember when they lost 3-1 at home to Lyon and stuff. I don't know why I could see that sort of result happening. It's been that sort of season for City as well. And like you say, the pressure is so on them, and I don't think they like that at all.
Yeah. It'll be interesting. That'll be the one that I'm watching tomorrow for sure. I'll be watching that instead of Porto and Inter, which it could be a good match, but I don't know. Porto needs to come back here at home, hosting Inter. Inter with the 1-0 lead. I think Inter do enough on this one. They'll squeak through. What do you think?
Me too. That's probably more saying I don't think Porto are strong enough. But 1-0 and then coming back, it was a late goal as well from Lukaku.
Yeah.
Inter don't look that great, do they? So Porto could come back. It's just obviously I don't know enough about how good Porto have been. I think Benfica have been a team in Portugal this season, really, and they seem to prove that as well against Bruges. But we could see like a 0-0 here and Inter go through.
Yeah, that rings true to me. Italian side away from home just needs to get a draw, right? That makes sense. I could easily see that happening. I mean, listen, Porto, the supporters will bring a good atmosphere.
Yeah.
It'll be a big environment there. And with one goal separating them, I could see this maybe 1-0 Porto goes into extra time, but I'm going Inter. Inter.
Yeah.
So I'm going Inter. I'm going City. I'm going Napoli. I'm going Real Madrid.
Agreed.
No controversy here. Cut and dry.
there probably will be at least one upset there, you feel.
Yeah.
And I think it will come in either the Man City game or the Porto one.
Okay.
I think Napoli and Real are through.
I think that's fair. There's a pretty big gap that Frankfurt or Liverpool would have to make up.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's gonna be interesting. We'll be tuning in, and I'm sure we will catch up on the results next week, where we will be giving more updates on mostly the English Premier League. Let's be honest. This pod has gone mostly Premier League. We catch the headlines otherwise, but we know that's what the Rubies want to hear about. English Premier League, most popular league. We talk Champions League. We'll talk Serie A and Bundes and Ligue 1 when it's relevant, of course. And who knows, maybe some MLS news sneaks in here. You never know. I'll say FC Cincinnati off to a hot start.
Oh, really? When did the season start?
Just about 3 weeks ago. And I believe we are 2 wins and a draw so far.
Okay.
So feeling good, feeling strong.
Do you head to the games often at all or not?
Oh, yeah. Season ticket holder.
Are you?
Oh yeah. I'm in what is called the Bailey, right behind the goal in the supporters section.
Are you part of the Ultras group? Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You hero. You absolute hero.
There's some pictures of me shirtless, waving it around, getting wild. Absolutely, dude.
Is it good back there? Is the atmosphere good?
Oh, it's great. Yeah. So their stadium, TQL Stadium, it's about 26,000 capacity. It is a soccer-specific stadium. It's one of the best in the United States in terms of just a footballing venue. So beautiful atmosphere. The city's great. It's right in a very fun and I'll say popular spot of Cincinnati in Over the Rhine or OTR. So cool spot in town, great atmosphere. Night under the lights with some football. It's a good time, man.
Are you guys in the MLS?
We are in the MLS. Yeah, got promoted in 2000. Not promoted. Got selected in 2019 was our inaugural season, I believe.
So you play against the big dogs,
the big boys, the LA Galaxies, the New York Red Bulls. So you're going to be Chicago Fires.
You're going to see Ricky Puig this season.
Yes, indeed. I'm gonna get me a Ricky Puig autograph. That's happening.
How many people go? What's your average attendance?
It'll sell out quite often.
Really, 26K.
Yeah. Cincinnati is a good sports town. They support their teams. And right off the bat, even before we were in MLS, we were in the USL, and we made a run in our domestic cup, which is open to all clubs. Made a run, beat some MLS teams, and the fan base just jumped on it. It immediately got a good support group from that, and then promoted to MLS and made the playoffs last year. That was huge. Good playoffs for those listening outside of America. Playoffs are an American sports thing. Instead of just crowning the champion, we of course have to have a tournament to see who the best of the domestic league was. So that's what we do at the end of our season.
Very nice. There's the MLS update. That's like a little.
There's the MLS update. I know everyone
in the future.
Yeah, I know everyone was sticking around for that one. So
they
tune
were.
In next week. I'll keep you up to date on FC Cincinnati and their progress.
I'm excited for this segment.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what we'll do? We'll start throwing in some footage. I'll start vlogging these matches. We'll start throwing in some clips from the FCC games and me behind the goal going wild.
Have you got a drum back there?
I don't personally have the drum, but now that you've mentioned it, I think that's the goal now. I gotta get myself on the drums.
You as a group though, you have drums, yeah?
Oh yeah,
okay,
yeah. It's a proper atmosphere. Yeah, like we take all the songs that you hear in England and we change it to our team's names. We do all that stuff.
Yeah,
good. It's a good time.
I'm happy for you.
When you guys come, when you and Buga come to America, one of the stops, we'll go to FC Cincinnati.
Would we be able to get into the group behind the goal?
I'll get you in.
Really?
I know people. Yeah, we'll go in right behind the goal.
Get in.
Absolutely.
I
it's not as like you do have to have a ticket for that section.
Yeah.
But those tickets can be acquired quite easily. Okay. And it's not like Europe where there's contention and there's security lining the the aisles and stuff like that. Yeah. It's much more open. So
it's friendly enough, isn't it? Yeah.
It's friendly enough. Yeah. I'll get you boys in. We'll have a good time.
Fantastic news.
Yeah, mark it down. All right. Roomies, that's going to do it. Buga, thanks for listening. We missed you. Hopefully you get some rest and you're feeling better. We will be back next week with Buga, Pablo, and me, John. And until then, I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Enjoy some good football, and we'll talk to you soon, roomies.
Take care.
See ya.